good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Good News Day. We're covering so much good news. So many topics. There's good things happening everywhere. Animals, power, other things, people doing great things, death. Yes, even death has good news going for it today. So, welcome to the Father and Daughter News Show, where we look at the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start, with no caffeine in our bodies, and let's find out those headlines. Today on Before Coffee, startup completes first fully robotic dental surgery, and celebrations of life, increasingly replacing traditional funerals in the UK, studies show.
In good news, Bangladesh's new government will form with the help of Nobel laureate, and there's serious progress being made towards a billionaire tax.
Freedom from fossil power. Wind and solar electricity grew to all-time high in its first half of 2024.
And the Shingles Vaccine may prevent dementia, and in other vaccination news, badgers are getting vaccinated.
Paris Olympics, the video games that played a take-home virtual goal.
Let's start tomorrow, which is August 6th, National Fresh Breath Day.
Minty.
On the comprehensive news of planet Earth, yes, on Before Coffee.
Coffee definitely does not give you fresh breath.
Unless you get that minty coffee. It's always good.
Well, speaking of minty breath, hey, would you like to go to the dentist? Well, you may be seeing a robotic friend sometime looking down on you instead of that guy who tries to ask you questions while he's putting things in your mouth. A startup claims to have completed the first fully robotic dental procedure on a human. This is on The Independent by Josh Markets. Last week, Boston firm Perceptive announced it had completed the surgery using its suite of fully automated dental technologies, which 3D scans a patient's mouth and uses AI to analyze the data, then employs a series of robotic arms and tools to carry out procedures. We're excited to successfully complete the world's first fully automated robotic dental procedure, Dr. Chris Cirillo, CEO of the founder of Perceptive, said in a statement. This medical breakthrough enhances precision and efficacy of dental procedures and democratizes access to better dental care for improved patient experience and clinical outcomes. Ah, yes. If you can't afford a real dentist, you can at least go to the robot dentist. This is just like dystopian video games I've played. They replace all the doctors with robots because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I don't want a robot
but
dentist.
They don't do the best
I don't
job.
want a robot dentist, thank you.
Yeah. The procedure, described in company materials as tooth cutting, took place in Barranquilla, Colombia, according to STAT News. The startup, which has received $30 million in funding from Silicon Valley names including Y Combinator and dentist Ed Zuckerberg, father of Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. I didn't know his father was a dentist. It's still about 5 years from U.S. regulatory approval from the Food and Drug Administration per the site. Okay, so in 5 years, you may be lucky enough to have a robotic dentist. A video of the procedure showed
it makes sense that his dad's a dentist.
Yeah. A video of
has no sense of humor, so.
Yeah, I guess so. A video of the procedure showed an automated drill arm shaving down a portion of the patient's tooth. The company says it can replace crowns in about 15 minutes compared to 2 hours it takes most dentists. Robotic surgery is widely used in other areas of medicine. That's true. It's not the first time robots have been doing surgery, but it is scary to have a drill put in your mouth because, I don't know, that's inside your head. It's scary. Speaking of dying from a drill being jammed into your mouth from a robotic dentist, this is from Carol Davies on The Guardian. Traditional somber funerals in religious settings are increasingly being replaced by celebrations of life, with personal touches held at more unusual locations in the UK, according to a study. Doctor Who-themed farewells, glittery coffins, and mourners dressed in football shirts are among requests received by funeral directors. Location requests received have included Hampton Court Palace, a betting shop, a castle, a farm in the woods, on a London bus, and an angling club and a cricket pavilion. Pets, it seems, are also increasingly being invited to attend their late owner's funeral. Sentimental items placed inside a coffin over the last 5 years have included cigarettes and a mobile phone, bingo items, and a snooker cue, funeral directors report. 68% of people believe funerals should be more of a celebration than a time of reflection, up to 58% in 2019. The study by Co-op Funeral Care found. The study, largely based on information from more than 500,000 funerals carried out by Co-op Funeral Care's funeral director over the last 5 years, highlights a trend towards more personalized services. Almost 6 in 10 funerals directors, 57%, reported an increase in requests from services to take up a place outside traditional religious settings, with almost half of those surveyed, 48%, said they had attended a funeral in a non-traditional setting over the last year. 89% of funeral directors said they had arranged a service in the last 5 years involving mourners who had been asked to wear their loved one's favorite color. 3/4, 75%, had received requests for pets to attend the funeral, while 62% of people surveyed said it is important that pets are able to attend their owner's service. Yeah, even animals, especially dogs, I think, understand death. So you don't need to... They'll be really confused if you don't, hey, your owner died, you know? They'll be like, hey, where'd that guy go? So I think showing the pet their deceased body is like, oh, my owner died. They're gone now. And then they understand. Because every animal understands death. It's everything dies. Almost a third of funeral directors, 31%, said they have seen people posting on social media from a funeral, while almost a fifth, 18%, have seen people taking selfies. So that's, I think, a little bit more, Gil Stewart, the manager director of Co-op Funeral Care, said, since our previous report in 2019, many factors, including the pandemic, have made people think about the subject of death and funerals much more. With this new report, we want to encourage the nation to talk to their loved ones about the funeral wishes, whether that be putting plans in place or even discussing a favorite song choice. Whilst it can be daunting, it can help make an otherwise difficult time that little bit easier if plans are known or in place for when they're needed. I want to be buried in the Rocky Mountains somewhere. Just throw my ashes off a cliff into the Grand Canyon, you know? I want to be in nature somewhere in like a high place so I can fly.
Oh, okay.
And that's where, there you go, you know, that's my funeral wishes. Well, I don't care about anything else before that, but I do like this idea of happy, I don't know, you're probably not going to be there when I die. Hopefully you're not there.
Somebody with an earshot, maybe.
Yeah, somebody on... This video is out here for anybody. If I'm dead right now, watch this video.
Okay.
My funeral should be a celebration of my happy life, whatever people I touched or influenced, and I want to be thrown off some sort of Rocky Mountain or mountain air, any mountain. If I can't, wherever I am, a mountain. Okay, that's...
I want to be thrown off a mountain tomorrow. But that's just me.
Funeral, that's how I want to die. What?
Yeah, that's right. Let's just go see if I can fly.
Well, if you take the right drugs, you won't even know you're about to die. You'll just be like, fly.
Well, yeah, that's the way a lot of people go out with morphine.
Yeah.
The big old smile. You ready?
So
that's your story?
Yep.
All right. Well, I sent you a clip last night. Did you get it?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, yeah, that's the clip. It's only 41 seconds, but it's cool and it's good news. So in the good news and world events, we had a little revolution in Bangladesh over the weekend. And now they're starting to form a new government as their prime minister has left the country. This is for NDTV. Aditi Gautam, Nobel laureate Mohammad Yunus may be chief advisor of new Bangladesh government. Here are 10 updates on the Bangladesh violence. Bangladesh awaits the formation of a new interim government a day after Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country, and the military took control amid massive protests. Here are the 10 updates. Number 1, Bangladesh President Mohammad Shabuddin late last evening chaired a crucial meeting to discuss the formation of a military-backed caretaker government. Army Chief General Walker Uz-Zaman, along with the head of the Navy and Air Force and top leaders of several opposition parties, including the BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami Party, attended the meeting. Number 2, the student leaders who spearheaded the movement against job quotas that turned into a call for Ms. Hasina to resign have said they want a new interim government with Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus as its chief advisor. Number 3, Nahid Islam, one of the key coordinators of the students' movement in Bangladesh, said that Professor Yunus has agreed to take on his crucial responsibility at the call of the student community to save the country, local media reports said. Number 4, General Walker, in an address to the nation yesterday, announced that Sheikh Hasina had resigned and the army would form an interim government. The country has suffered a lot. The country has been hit. Many people have been killed. And it's time to stop the violence, said General Walker. Number 5, Sheikh Hasina, the daughter of Bangladesh's founding father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, was given a 45-minute ultimatum to step down as prime minister, it is learned. Number 6, Miss Hasina, who started her 5th term as prime minister earlier this year, left state capital Dhaka in a military aircraft for India after resigning. The 76-year-old is accompanied by her younger sister, Sheikh Rehana. Sheikh Hasina met National Security Advisor Ajit Doval evening after landing at the Hindan Air Force Base in Uttar Pradesh, Ghaziabad, around 30 kilometers from Delhi. That was a poorly written sentence. I should have said in the evening. They left a whole couple of words out. Number 7, Sheikh Hasina is expected to leave for London later, sources told NDTV, where she may seek political asylum. However, there is no confirmation on whether the UK has offered asylum to her. Number 8, Foreign Minister another fun name, Jace Hankar, today chaired an all-party meeting to discuss the fall of Sheikh Hasina government and the army's takeover in the neighboring Bangladesh amid violent protests. Mr. Jaishankar briefed the leaders of all parties about the situation in the violent nation and the steps taken by the Indian government. Number 9, Western powers called for calm in Bangladesh after Sheikh Hasina fled. The United States called on all sides to refrain from further violence, while UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for a peaceful, orderly, and democratic transition. And number 10, Sheikh Hasina had sought to quell nationwide protests against her government since early July, but she fled the country after brutal unrest on Sunday, in which nearly 100 people were killed, taking a death count since the anti-government demonstrations began to over 400. So the good news is they're quickly and rapidly forming a government, and a Nobel laureate is going to be one of your main architects. So a lot of hope there that they can form a government rapidly. In other good news, we're going to talk about the global billionaire tax briefly. This is from positive.news. And it says serious progress made towards global billionaire tax. In a landmark move, finance leaders from the world's biggest economies have agreed to work together to tax billionaires more effectively. How they'll do that remains contentious. Well, you lock up their yachts and say, pay your taxes, they're going to take your yacht. There you go. In a joint declaration following a G20 meeting in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, finance leaders agreed that ultra-high net worth individuals should contribute their fair share in taxes. However, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen rejected calls for a billionaire tax. Well, we need to run her out on a rail, despite the idea of having a strong support at home. Okay, time for a new Treasury Secretary. You listening, Kamala? New Treasury Secretary needed. Of course, the new president does replace everybody. It almost always happens. We definitely need a new attorney general. That guy is just slow. Brazil led calls for global billionaire tax after commissioning economists Gabrielle Zuckman to create a blueprint for such a scheme. Zuckman estimated that taxing the world's 3,000 billionaires, 2% of their wealth would generate upwards of $250 billion annually. That seems kind of low, right? That's just me. But $250 billion annually, I think that would just be, maybe the top 10 would contribute that. An Oxfam report published in January found that the world's 5 richest men have more than doubled their fortunes since 2020, while the wealth of the poorest 60% has, in real terms, fallen. Oxfam International's tax policy lead Suzanne Ruiz said their declaration represented serious global progress. She added, at the forthcoming G20 summit in November, leaders need to go further than the finance ministers and back concrete coordination, agreeing on a new global standard that taxes the ultra-rich at a rate high enough to close the gap between them and the rest of us. There should not be billionaires. They don't serve any purpose, so I'm in favor of this. Back to you.
We're going to get you one day, billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
One day.
You know how much $1 billion is?
Too much. I can't even think about it. It's the number beyond my...
$1 billion? $1 million is $50,000 a year for 20 years.
Yeah.
$1 billion is $50,000 a year for 20,000 years.
Yeah. Good luck living that long.
That's how much it is.
Crazy.
Of course, they measured in England. They say a million billion. They say a million in England for some reason. They don't say a billion.
It's insane.
Although, yeah.
To be fair, nobody actually has $1 million.
They
just have $1 billion. They just have $1 billion in assets. So, you know.
Yeah.
I own 15 yachts, so that means money. I have $1 billion, you know. But anyways.
How much crap can you own?
How much crap can you own? Well, hopefully the future is bright for us because of the billionaires getting taxed and our freedom from fossil power. That's right, at least in Europe. This is from Rosie Frost on Euronews. Almost half of EU member states, which is 13 countries, produced more electricity from wind and solar over the last 6 months than from fossil fuels. For the first time, wind and solar generated more of the EU's electricity than fossil fuels in the first half of this year. A new analysis from energy think tank Ember has found that electricity from wind and solar grew to an all-time high of 30% in the last 6 months compared to 27% from fossil fuels. The remaining 43% was made up by a mix of hydropower, nuclear, and other sources. Electricity from fossil fuels fell by 17% during the same period, despite demand recovering from impacts of the gas price crisis. The EU's continued strong rollout of wind and solar power outpaced this rebound in demand. With wind and solar on the rise, the role of fossil fuels is narrowing, says Ember analyst Chris Roslow. We are witnessing a historic shift in the power sector, and it's happening rapidly. This has left emissions from the EU's power sector 31% lower in the first half of 2024. 31% lower in the first half of 2024 than they were in 2022. Mild weather and good performance for hydroelectric power has contributed to the EU's drop in fossil fuel generation. But growth in wind and solar was the single largest factor according to Ember analysis. It comes after 2023 saw record-breaking additions to wind and solar electricity generating capacity. That's also to follow up with the new solar farm they're building off the coast of the UK. They may not be part of the EU, but they are part of Europe, and I'm sure that's also going to help. Many EU member states have brought in policies to accelerate the transition to these two renewables and reduce their reliance on imported natural gas. Ember says the continued focus on this is now anticipated following Ursula von der Leyen's confirmation as President of the European Commission. If member states can keep up the momentum on wind and solar development, then freedom from fossil power reliance will truly start to come into view. Dr. Roslow adds. Sustaining the pace of this electricity transition, the think tank says will require a dedicated policy focusing on easing barriers to wind and solar integration, including improving the electricity grid across Europe. Gotta increase that efficiency. The more efficiency you have, the more power you can get out of all the effort you put in. Two key priorities should be taking action to reduce the grid connection times for new projects, and improving the availability of energy storage and demand-side flexibility that can help make the most of wind and solar power at a time when it's abundant, Dr. Roslow explains. Continuing to streamline permitting will also be very important to deliver more wind and solar. Continuing to streamline permitting will also be very important to deliver more wind and solar. It's like, I feel like I said that sentence completely wrong. The EU also needs simpler rules for repowering old wind farms and for permitting procedures to be digitalized whenever possible, according to Ember. Wait, they're writing this stuff down on paper? Please sign this form so you can get your solar farm running. Auctions will continue to be a crucial mechanism to support renewables development, and governments can increase certainty by delivering those in timelines needed and with thoughtful design, Dr. Roslow adds. Which EU countries generate more power from solar and wind than fossil fuels? Well, there are 13 member states, and here they are. Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany. Those are two big ones. France and Germany making more solar and wind than other power because they're the bigger industrial countries. Hungary, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Portugal, Spain, the Netherlands, and Sweden. Sweden is also a big industrial manufacturer, so it's good to hear that 3 of those big manufacturing countries have generated more power through solar and wind than through fossil fuels. I already knew the Netherlands was doing that because the Netherlands has been doing it for years. We have one of the biggest wind farms off the coast of Amsterdam. Together, these countries make up 70% of the EU's total electricity demand. So it's very impressive that they're using more than fossil fuels, with the remaining 30% spread across 14 states. Just 5 years ago, it was just 4 countries of the 27 which generated more electricity from wind and solar than fossil fuels, which were responsible for only 20% of the bloc's electricity demand. Good job! Belgium, Germany, and Hungary, and the Netherlands hit the milestone for the first time in the first 6 months of 2024. 5 countries made up to 3/4 of the fall in EU fossil fuel generation in the first half of 2024. Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. Germany saw the biggest drop due to coal generation falling by more than 1/4. Others have also hit significant renewable energy milestones in the last 6 months. In May, more than half of Spain's electricity generation came from wind and solar for the first time ever. That's 50% of all their power coming from the wind and the sun. Poland hit the threshold of 1/3 of its electricity from wind and solar in the same month. And Hungary set consecutive records for solar generation April, May, June this year. Hey, at least Hungary's doing something right. The pace of the rollout in wind and solar power has exceeded many people's expectations, according to Dr. Roslow. It has also allowed member states to reduce their exposure to volatile fossil fuel prices, and also terrible wind quality, I would argue as well. There's no single secret, he says. In fact, the range of member states that have now passed this milestone is proof that this transition is possible anywhere in the EU, thanks in part to the distributed nature of wind and solar energy. It's like all around us or something. Wind and solar are now the most competitive sources of new energy, Dr. Roslow adds, with the front runners in Europe all having managed to create the right conditions for these to flourish, from providing investor certainty to reducing technical and procedural hurdles and providing financial incentives. Of course, a lot of farmers get incentives to have wind turbines on their land, so they all build one, at least 1 or 2 on their farmland. Other member states such as Poland and Greece have reached this milestone yet, but are showing truly impressive growth in the wind and solar energy. As an example, solar energy in Poland grew by 37% in the first half of 2024, the 4th largest absolute growth of any EU member state in that period. As they continue to scale, action is needed to enable the development of new projects and make sure households and businesses can benefit as much as possible from the cheap and abundant energy provided by wind and solar. Of course, a lot of houses around here have their own solar panels so that they're, and I think you even get paid back. If you make more solar energy than you use, you actually get money for that. So they pay you. They're like, hey, your energy bill was a deficit, so here's some money back. So
yeah, you're selling electricity back to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're welcome, dude. My neighbor can have this. I don't need it. So there's your great and good news about the planet Earth. We still have a chance. It's not over yet, as long as we keep on pushing forward.
Maybe.
Because let's be honest here, the people who create the most greenhouse gases are the Northern Hemisphere, especially
the billionaires.
Europe and the United States and China, I think. China's way lower, actually.
Yep.
Because we covered this last week, I think.
China's getting on the carbon-free train faster.
Yeah, exactly. They better if they want to compete with everyone else. Unfortunately.
Okay.
But, that's my story.
That's our throw over. Okay, so on to vaccination news, and this is from positive.news. Shingles vaccine may delay dementia, which is good news for me because I was thinking about getting a shingles vaccine, and I, of course, am getting
Don't
demented.
want to have dementia. Nobody wants that.
Well, not so noticeable, but I notice it. It's like, maybe I'll just get high and I won't feel so bad. Anyway, being vaccinated against shingles may also help delay getting diagnosed with dementia. A study in the Journal of Nature Medicine suggests researchers from the University of Oxford in England compared around 100,000 people who had the new shingles jab Shingrix to a similar group who had an older vaccine. On average, those who had the Shingrix jab had an extra 164 days free from dementia diagnosis over 6 years. Further work is needed to prove the link, scientists said. Co-author Professor Paul Harrison said, even if it is a delay of 164 days, for example, on the public health level, that would not be a trivial finding. It's a big enough effect that the link is proved, it feels meaningful, that if the link is proved, it feels meaningful to us. And more news about dementia, people. In the article right below this, a Dutch museum launched dementia-friendly tours. One of the Netherlands' leading galleries has launched tours exclusively for people with dementia. So you got someplace to take me when I go there next time. And their caregivers. Grandpa doesn't know where anything is anymore, but we can show him some Van Gogh. The Kunst Museum in The Hague has more than 165,000 works on display, including pieces by Mondrian, Van Gogh, and Monet. And an exclusive tour of such works is now available for people with dementia on the last Friday of every month, thanks to the museum's Art Connection program. Research has shown that looking at and talking about art has a positive effect on people with dementia. Emotional experience and connecting power of art are central to this new interactive program, said the Kunst Museum in a statement. We want to make a positive contribution to the quality of life of both people with dementia and their caregivers. And in more vaccination news, this is from theguardian.com. Vaccinating badgers more effective than culls in stopping the bovine TB, which is tuberculosis, study finds. And again, they're using weird headlines. Right. It's more effective than culls. Culls is when they just kill the livestock. It's a fancy name for murdering livestock. Anyway, a large-scale vaccination program could help eradicate bovine tuberculosis in badgers, according to the first-of-its-kind study with really promising results for cattle farmers whose herds have been devastated by the disease. Over 4 years, researchers have vaccinated 265 badgers across 12 farms in Cornwall. They found the percentage of badgers testing positive for TB fell from 16% to 0. It's the best result you could get from a small study, said the lead researcher, Professor Rosie Woodruff. I got to sneeze. maybe I will get away with it. Not sneezing. Okay. We left off at Professor Rosie Woodrow from the Zoological Society of London, the ZSL. The results are really promising, but we want to see it replicated over a large area. Vaccination could provide an alternative solution to the problem of badgers infecting cattle with BTB, an issue that has prompted highly controversial mass culls with more than 210,000 badgers killed since 2013. That's a lot of badgers. We don't need no stinking badgers. Anyway, bad joke. Despite more than a decade of culling badgers in England, there is no scientific consensus on whether it has reduced TB, with several studies finding it had no positive effect. So they were just killing badgers for no reason. They just thought it was doing something. The badger cull formed a central pillar of the Conservative government's effort to reduce TB in cattle. The Conservative government doesn't seem to know how to do anything. Despite the lack of scientific evidence for the policy, the Labour government said it would be the end of the badger cull, although it is not clear when that will be enacted. The vaccination project was initiated and partly funded by farmers in Cornwall. It was the first of its kind in that it was led by farmers and involved testing the blood of badgers to assess whether TB was declining. Researchers vaccinated badgers over an area of 11 square miles or 11 square kilometers or 4.3 square miles. According to a new study published in People in Nature, 74% of the badgers in the area received the vaccine. We showed it could be done and you could catch enough badgers. Then we looked at if it was effective, and it was. And we looked at it if it was acceptable, and the farmers are absolutely delighted because they can see the real difference. It is uncertain if the pilot vaccination reduced TB in cattle in the area and is a subject for future research. The main cause of TB in cattle is other cows. Scientists estimated that 94% of infections are passed from cow to cow. Well, that makes sense. They travel in large groups. You don't see a lot of loner cows. Oh, there, moo, hell with all you. I'm an outcast. With less than 6% of infections transmitted to cows by badgers. That's still, the cow gets it from a badger and spreads it to the other cows, right? The bovine TB has been devastating to farmers. 20,000 cattle were slaughtered in the 12 months to September 2023. Keith Truscott, founder of the Mid-Cornwall Badger Vaccination Farmers Group and a co-author of the report, said we need a solution to tackle bovine tuberculosis. As cattle farmer, I am living with a constant worry that one of our cows might test positive for the disease, so doing nothing is not an option. I sleep better at night knowing there are people out there working to eradicate the disease through vaccination. Landowners said they would like to continue the vaccination program beyond the original 4 years of the study. Farmers have been concerned that the vaccine might reach too few badgers and be too expensive. However, researchers wrote in the paper, our findings show that badger vaccination was practically achievable. The numbers of badgers vaccinated per square kilometer in a year were higher than the numbers called on nearby land, even though vaccination was conducted for only 2 nights per location, while culling operations extended over at least 6 weeks. Professor James Wood, a veterinary epidemiologist at Cambridge University, who was not involved in the study, said, these results provide very positive, albeit small-scale, findings and revelation to the practicability of delivering badger vaccinations across bovine TB. Dr. Graham Smith, a lead scientist at the Animal and Plant Health Agency, part of the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, who was also not involved in the study, said the research demonstrated feasibility of the vaccination. A reduction of TB in cattle would be a logical consequence of a disease reduction in badgers where they are contributing, he said. The project was a collaboration between the farmers of Cornwall and researchers from ZSL, Imperial College London, and Cornwall Wildlife Trust. They are now calling on government to fund more research on community-led badger vaccinations. There you go. There's your badger story. Don't badger me anymore for good news.
Good news for the bovines and good news for the badgers. We don't have to be killing animals because my beef is getting poisoned by tuberculosis.
I had no idea there were that many badgers in England, but apparently there's a lot.
It's there. It's their possums.
Killing them off. There's still a lot.
That's their. They don't have possums, so they gotta have badgers.
Oh. Well, they have hedgehogs. Hedgehogs are fun.
Yeah. Hedgehogs aren't also not an American animal. They don't exist in America naturally.
No, I'm talking about England.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. I'm just comparing to America.
We got porcupines.
Yeah, exactly.
They're bigger. They're not as cute.
But also similar stuff. Okay, let's talk about our culture segment, which... Are you feeling left out because you can't go to the Olympics? Well, don't worry. You can play these video games that will let you experience the thrill of taking home the gold, or the silver, or the bronze, depending if you're playing a co-op game. This is from Roberto Ferrer on Euronews Culture. Mario and Sonic have missed out on this year's Olympics, and there's no official console game either. But there are still options to try out the different disciplines from the sofa, or standing up. For years, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, has been giving the audience a taste of some Olympic disciplines through video games for different platforms. The first officially licensed Olympic title appeared in the 1980s, and since the 1990s, different studios have developed games to promote the Summer or Winter Olympics. In 2007, Mario and Sonic joined the competition. Nintendo and Sega put their most famous characters forward to fight for gold at the Summer Games in Beijing, London, Rio, and Tokyo, and also at the Winter Games in Vancouver and Sochi. However, Paris 2024 will not see the plumber and the hedgehog in any discipline, as for the first time in 17 years, there is no Mario or Sonic Olympic game. Fans have shared their disappointment on social media. No Mario and Sonic Olympic games this year! Did you play any of the past 4? What are your favorite memories from these games? Curiously, there is also no traditional video game for the 33rd Olympiad. Yeah, I read that right. I was like, 33rd, yes. The only official title is Olympics Go, Paris 2024, a mobile game available for free on the Android and iOS, and also for PC through Epic Games. The game includes 12 sports and also allows players to create and manage their own Olympic cities. Players unlock disciplines as they complete them, and their goal is to master them all. Mini games include archery, artistic gymnastics, athletics, basketball, breaking, new for Paris 2024, break dancing is another way you could breaking, cycling, fencing, golf, rowing, shooting, skateboarding, and swimming. Being mobile, the action is performed by taps on the screen. To add some challenge, the game introduces obstacles as the competition progresses, such as a limit on the tapping rate in athletics after which the character slows down, or some wind to make archery more difficult. Each sport has 4 levels of difficulty to beat. Although the game is free to play, it includes a virtual shop where you can claim or buy points that can be redeemed for upgrades to help you progress, such as more training for the athletes. Points can also be earned by building new facilities around the Olympic venues, such as cafes or shops. If mobile games aren't your cup of tea, there are also titles from previous years. Tokyo 2020 included both an official game for consoles and PC and a new title of the Mario and Sonic franchise available for Nintendo Switch. Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official video game, offers 18 arcade-style sporting events to play alone or in multiplayer mode, both sharing the sofa with a friend or online. It also gives you more variety in character customization. You can compete dressed as an astronaut or Sonic, for example. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 allows you to play 34 events in different disciplines, 4 of which made their debut that year: climbing, karate, surfing, and skateboarding. And an interesting detail is that the game includes 2D levels of a tribute to Tokyo 1964 games. In addition, during the adventure, the player finds pieces of trivia about the 1964 and 2020 Olympics. Beyond Olympic video games, those who want to move around the living room a bit have to return to the classic Nintendo Switch Sports. It's their heir to the popular Wii Sports, which in 2006 got people of all ages off the sofa by taking advantage of the new motion controls. In this new edition, released in 2022, Nintendo allows you to play football, tennis, badminton, basketball, volleyball, bowling, golf, and chambara, a Japanese sword fighting, alone or with a partner. The Paralympic Games also have an official video game, although it was short-lived. It was released in 2021 for mobile only and was called the Pegasus Dream Tour. It was developed by JP Games, a Japanese studio founded by Hajime Tabata, director of several Final Fantasy games. The Pegasus Dream Tour was an RPG that placed the player in Pegasus City, a futuristic and inclusive city. The goal was to help the avatar achieve a dream of becoming a Paralympic athlete. The game allowed players to roam freely around the city, interact with other avatars, and compete in boccia, football 5-a-side, athletics, and wheelchair basketball online tournaments. The International Paralympic Committee, IPC, said the development of this game was part of its effort to bring the parasports to a new and young audience, as well as highlighting the benefits of video games to inspire positive change and tackle social issues. Unfortunately, it is no longer available as the game ended its service on 31st of January 2022 due to the expiration of the official license agreement by the IPC. Well, so much for influencing people. IPC, what the hell? You don't stop influence, you keep it going. Maybe they couldn't afford it anymore, the licensing. But anyways, there it is. You can check out all those video games if you feel left out watching the Olympics today, and well, in the past couple weeks, right before the ending ceremony this weekend, and this day in history.
It's ending already? Man, I've been watching Olympics every day, just leaving it on TV.
Yeah.
Let it play.
Just playing.
This
non-stop.
Peacock, I bought the Peacock app. The Peacock app, so they just run everything. They show you all the events you'd probably never watch. Tiddlywinks. Tiddlywinks is gone. No, that's not in effect.
I didn't realize this, but people
all right, so this day in history.
Handball was. There's people who don't know what handball is. They're like, what's that weird sport where they're like playing soccer but with their hands and with a ball? It's like
it's like
handball?
basketball with a tiny ball, and they can run with it and throw it at a goal. Yeah.
And
team
they were
handball.
like, why is anybody playing this sport? I've never heard of it. It's like everyone else in the world plays handball. America is the only place who doesn't. But suddenly it doesn't deserve to be the Olympics because America doesn't play it.
I don't know. There's all kinds of Olympic sports that Americans don't excel in. And
I just thought those
handball is just one of them. Right, this way in history then?
Yep.
This date, 1806, on August the 6th, after 1,000 years, the Holy Roman Empire came to its official end on this day in 1806 with the secession of its Confederate States, when Emperor Francis II of Austria put down the imperial crown. I guess he just put it down, picked it up and put it down. Okay, so 1806, the Holy Roman Empire came to an end on this day. 1809, English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson, often regarded as chief representative of the Victorian age, was born in Somersby, Lincolnshire. So happy birthday to Alfred Lord Tennyson. Or Lord Tennyson Alfred, or whatever. 1825, Bolivia declared its independence from Spain. In 1890, in this day, convicted murderer William Kemmler became the first person to be executed by electric chair. He was put to death in the Auburn State Prison in New York. So, happy birthday to old Sparky. In 1911, American radio and motion picture actress and television comedian Lucille Ball was born in Calderon, New York. She, of course, starred in I Love Lucy with her husband, Desi Arnaz Jr. 1926, Desi Arnaz Jr. is her son. Desi Arnaz Sr. is her husband. Desi Arnaz Jr. is her son. Okay, 1826, Gertrude Ederle, age 19, of New York, became the first woman to swim the English Channel, breaking the men's record by nearly 2 hours. Yes, women are better long-distance swimmers than men. Proven fact. Estonia lost its independence when the Soviet Union annexed the country in this day in 1940. 1962, on this date, after 300 years of British rule, Jamaica became an independent country within the Commonwealth of Nations. Good news for Mr. Bob Marley back here.
Yeah.
1965, U.S. President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act, which sought to overcome legal barriers at state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising the right to vote. The legislation was weakened through several lawsuits in the 21st century. That's right. The current Supreme Court basically threw out the Voting Rights Act, and now it's going to be harder to vote in the South because the South can go, we're going to close polling places all over the state. That's right. We're going to make it hard to vote. 1990, the UN Security Council imposed economic sanctions on Iraq, ruled by Saddam Hussein for his invasion of Kuwait 4 days earlier. 1996, on this day at the Palace in Los Angeles, the hugely influential punk rock band the Ramones played their last concert. And 2012, NASA's robotic vehicle Curiosity, also called Mars Science Laboratory, landed on Mars and soon began transmitting images of the planet's surface. 2015, this is unfortunately reported. It says American comedian Jon Stewart hosted his last episode of The Daily Show, a satiric news program that became a leading forum for current events, especially politics, of course. Jon Stewart is back hosting The Daily Show on Mondays. So he's doing the 1 day a week thing. So it wasn't his last. It was his last for the next 9 years, let's say. Almost 9 years. Also on this day, tragedy. An atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. On this day in 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The blast killed more than 70,000 people and destroyed most of the city in an effort to hasten the end of World War II. World War II ended very quickly afterwards, when Japan decided after the second bomb that they don't know how many bombs we actually had. Like, how many bombs did they actually have? They had more than one. Maybe they only had two. And at the time, I believe they just only had two. So the second bomb, they said, was necessary to say, we can do this again. Our featured biography, Diego Velázquez, Spanish painter, born August 6, 1660 in Madrid, Spain. It does not say when he died, so I assume he died at some point. Otherwise, he's close to 400 years old. Our other featured biographies, Alexander Fleming, Scottish bacteriologist, born in 1881. Robert Mitchum, American actor, born in 1917. We already covered Lucille Bullett's. Andy Warhol's birthday. Andy Warhol, the guy that painted Campbell's soup cans and images of Marilyn Monroe. He got famous for that.
Famously
and also for saying
either,
in the future. What's that?
Famously not a great guy, supposedly.
Yeah, he was a self-centered, self-indulgent human. He helped start Velvet Underground with Lou Reed, that kind of stuff. But he was a maven, a New York maven of outrageous art. Andy Warhol, born on this day in 1928. 1965 is the birthday of David Robinson, American basketball player. And what day is it today? It is a few things. It's National Night Out Day. It's the first Tuesday in August. I'm not sure what that means if they're showing a cop. I thought that was a night out involved the cops. That does that. Oh, we called the cops again. So it must be something else. I don't know why do you go out on Tuesday? It's got to be something else. It's National Wiggle Your Toes Day. Wiggle them toes. And it's got a picture of somebody with these toe socks on. It's National Root Beer Float Day. Root Beer Float. It's National Fresh Breath Day. And it's National Social Engineering Day. Social Engineering Day. Oh my God, that sounds futuristic, doesn't it? That sounds like something right out of 1984 in George Orwell. Social engineering. We're always doing social engineering. Every time we do a tax cut for the rich people, they say, that's stimulate the economy. No, that's social engineering. And when they say, oh, let's give money to poor people who have nothing, the rich people all go, that's social engineering, you can't do that. So, they're all, it depends on your point of view. National Night Out Day promotes police community partnerships in neighborhoods across the country. The event focuses on community and raising awareness through camaraderie. By improving area relationship, the hope is to make our neighborhoods safer. And doesn't say anything about it being night and or anything being out. One of the largest is in Columbus, Ohio. Word Festival. They have a festival that includes live music, food, and entertainment. But they're doing it on Tuesday. So I'm just baffled by the whole concept. But hey, I didn't invent these days. And those are your dates for today, August 2nd, 2024 on Before Root Beer Floats.
Well, this has been Allison. Here from the Netherlands. I love me some root beer floats. Unfortunately, root beer is a weird American soda. So I can't find it anywhere here in Europe. So I gotta make my own, I guess.
Maybe.
Get some anise, put it in some carbonated water, and
some sarsaparilla.
Way too
sarsaparilla.
much. Oh, sarsaparilla. What's anise then?
I'm sorry?
I thought anise was also a soda. But now I can't think of it.
Oh, you can make soda out of anything. Yeah,
I know, but root beer is sarsaparilla. Okay. Anyways, and
they're not the same thing.
Dutch people find it very weird to put ice cream in soda. I told somebody that what a root beer float was, and they were like, "Ice cream in liquid? Ugh! Why would you do such a thing?" Of course, I found cheese and mustard to be disgusting, and they look at me like I'm a weirdo. So. Cultural differences aside, thank you for watching another episode of Before Coffee here on Good Tuesday. Hopefully, we brightened up your day with all the great things that are happening out there in the world. We will see you tomorrow for Wacky and Weird Wednesday, in which we're going to cover all the weird stuff. Sometimes the world is more than you expect. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn on that notification bell so you get notified when we go live, and like this video if we made your day a happier one. Without further ado, let's check out a mic drop moment, and we'll see you next time.
And clicking.
There we go.
Got that one.
These young fellas
They're coming on.
Little kid got to catch 3 footballs.
Very tiny kid. Why does he not put the ball down? Is the idea that he has to keep holding them?
This is the contest. This is the contest.
You have to keep holding the balls. Wow. I couldn't do it. They almost slipped. Oh, wow. The whole team is running after him. He's gonna
I'm telling you,
tackled.
grown men who return punts for a living have trouble with this.
What's more scary is just like how many grown men are surrounding like a 6-year-old boy.
He's fine.
That's scary.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.